When have you seen karma come back with a nuclear vendetta? My older brother Chuck used to love tormenting my girlfriend Jenna, all because she'd had an abortion at 15 after getting assaulted. Everyone knew her story because nothing stayed secret in our small town, and Chuck loved telling me I was dating a worthless whore who was a murderer. He'd come to my apartment drunk and scream through the door that Jenna was garbage who'd burn in hell for killing an innocent child. "You're dating damaged goods who spread her legs then threw away the consequences," he'd yell while Jenna sobbed in my arms. At family dinners, he'd tell our parents that Jenna was disgusting trash who'd contaminate our bloodline if I ever had kids with her. He stood up during church testimony and said God had shown him that women who get abortions were Satan's way of dragging good men to hell. "She's a baby killer who should have been the one to die instead," he told the whole congregation while pointing at us. Chuck worked at our dad's car dealership and preached to every customer about the sanctity of life. He organized protests outside the women's clinic and held up signs with pictures while screaming at scared teenage girls that they were murderers for considering abortion. He told the youth group that girls who had abortions were wars who would never be clean, no matter how much they prayed. When Jenna volunteered at the women's shelter, he showed up and told everyone there that she was a baby killer pretending to help women. But then Chuck got Abby pregnant. She was only 19 and worked at the coffee shop downtown. She came from a religious family who'd disown her if she had a baby without being married. Chuck told her she had to get an abortion immediately because he wasn't ruining his future for some stupid mistake. When Abby said she wanted to think about it, Chuck grabbed her shoulders and shook her, saying she was getting one whether she wanted it or not. "This is different because we have futures worth protecting," he told her, like her choice didn't matter at all. Abby decided to keep the baby and told everyone Chuck had tried to force her to have an abortion against her will. The same church ladies who used to nod along when Chuck called Jenna a murderer now crossed the street to avoid him. People started calling him a hypocrite and a fake Christian who only cared about controlling women's bodies when it wasn't his problem. The youth group kids he preached to about purity saw him screaming at Abby outside the coffee shop that she was ruining his life by not getting rid of it. His protest friends from the clinic banned him from their group, saying he was exactly the type of controlling man they were protecting women from. Our parents kicked Chuck out of the family business because customers refused to buy from someone who terrorized women for their choices, then tried to force those same choices on others. Dad said Chuck had shown his true colors as someone who only pretended to have values. The church elders told him he was no longer welcome at services until he understood that his sin wasn't about abortion, but about hypocrisy and cruelty. Chuck had to move into a motel because his landlord was Abby's aunt, who evicted him immediately after hearing how he treated her niece. The whole town started treating Chuck exactly how he treated Jenna for years. Women would call him a hypocrite and abuser when he walked by, just like he used to call them murderers. The grocery store clerk told him they didn't serve men who tried to control women's bodies. The bartender at his favorite spot said woman haters weren't welcome and made him leave in front of everyone. His own friends said he was disgusting for trying to force his will on that poor girl after terrorizing women for making their own choices. Chuck lost everything within 3 months, just like he tried to make Jenna lose everything. He couldn't get a job because everyone knew him as the hypocrite who harassed women, then tried to force one to do exactly what he'd condemned. He had to shop 2 towns over because local stores wouldn't serve him. People would quote his own hateful words back to him about hell and damnation. He'd become the town pariah he'd tried to make Jenna into, except she had done nothing wrong while he'd shown everyone exactly who he really was. Jenna and I got engaged, and the whole town was happy for us because they'd seen how strong she was through everything. People apologized to her for listening to Chuck's poison and said they should have defended her right to make her own choices. The same church that let Chuck humiliate her asked if she'd like to have our wedding there for free as their way of making amends. Chuck heard about our engagement and tried to come to my apartment, but I wouldn't let him in. He called me crying, saying his life was over and begging me to make people forgive him. They forgave Jenna because she never did anything wrong, but you spent years being cruel to women for your own power trip, I told him before hanging up. But then Abby called me yesterday with panic in her voice. Chuck came by saying if everyone's going to treat him like a monster, then he might as well be one, and I should warn you that he knows where your wedding is, and he said Jenna's not walking out of that church. Full story on the channel below.